Welcome to the TCU Innovates podcast.
For over 150 years, Texas Christian University has been at the forefront of innovation, and we're just getting started.
I'm TCU Chancellor Victor Bashini.
And I'm TCU President Daniel Pullin.
We are your hosts of TCU Innovates.
We highlight the latest stories of innovation and thought leadership across our community.
Dream big, be bold,
and lead on, Horned Frogs. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to TCU Innovates. I'm TCU President Daniel Pullin, and today I have the distinct honor of sharing the mic with Mike Caldwell, the Executive Director of the TCU Center for Career and Professional Development. Mike, it is awesome to have you on the show today. Thanks for being here.
It is great to be here. I'm excited to do the podcast with you.
Excellent. I've been looking forward to this one. And as you probably know, this podcast highlights the stories of innovation at TCU. And wow, everything that you're doing at the TCU Career Services Center has accomplished exactly what we're trying to do for our students as we propel them into the next chapter as they build their careers in the context of life. The center has accomplished so many things that truly exemplify thinking outside of the box, bringing new levels of career services support to our students, and really putting them on the pathway for lifelong success. And so I'm excited to dive into all of that, learn about the array of services that your team offers, and really what sets TCU apart as we maintain our lead ahead of the pack. But first, I want to hear about your TCU story. What brought you here, and why did you decide to make a home right here in Fort Worth, Texas?
Sure, absolutely. So I grew up knowing about TCU for when I was younger. I grew up in Arkansas. It was going back probably 3 conference realignments ago, back in the Southwest Conference days, knowing TCU football, having friends, colleagues who worked at TCU, and just that sense of pride in TCU from anyone you meet from this campus, that just always shows forth with those people. So I've worked in career services just over 20 years, so just having that knowledge of TCU really gravitated me here when the opportunity came to take on the role of executive director in the Center for Career and Professional Development. I certainly jumped at that opportunity because of the strong reputation of TCU, the strong reputation of our students, and really the staff and the people that I knew who worked here and the support that they felt, the place of community that they had, that just really resonated with me. And it's just a great place to be and a great place to work and a great place to help students succeed, because I think our students are well equipped to succeed in the job market right now. And that's a great place to be if you're doing what we do in career services.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I feel the same way. I've been here about 5 years now, and I've never been at an organization or been in a community where like everybody is for you, right? Everyone wants to not only be successful for themselves, but pour into each other and really think, what might I do more? How might I be catalytic to really invest in the life of someone that truly is going places? And certainly you do that every day at the Career Center, and you do it with great enthusiasm and remarkable results. So I know a little bit about the Career Center, but a lot of our listeners may not know all the services and offerings that we provide. So just give us an overview of the Career Center. What are we doing each day?
Sure. We help students with resumes. We help them with their job search. We help connect them to employers. We help make sure that they have the opportunity to complete an internship while they're here at TCU. About 4 out of 5 of our students at TCU will complete at least one internship during their time on campus. So we're connecting students to those experiences and really just helping them be equipped to start their first role after graduation in a role that they're really interested in, that they're invested in, and that they can be successful at. So we do those typical things, but in addition to those things, some things that people maybe don't think about, but we also help students who are looking and exploring graduate school opportunities. So maybe they want to continue their education either here at TCU or elsewhere. We help those students as well, help them with things like personal statements and that process as well. And then we just leverage technology in everything that we do. We really try to scale up what we do so that we can meet every student where they are. We try to make sure that our services are personalized and individualized to students so that we're helping each student, no matter what their major, we're providing the support for them that they need for their particular major, and so that they feel like they have someone who has their back, who can help them get to the job that they're really interested in, that they're really In some cases, maybe it might be a stretch for them, but we really want to help our students expand their thinking in terms of what they're capable of. And that's really what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah, well, I think it's wonderful, and certainly operationally, you've got a very effective team, and you're using lots of innovation. And certainly, if you look at the placement rates and starting salaries, we're doing a really great job of getting our students jobs upon graduation. That first job after completing their degree. But what you said earlier really resonated with me, because it's not just about getting them their first job. You're pouring into them from a professional development perspective, career coaching. You're articulating and promulgating life skills, the kind of thing that will prepare them for every chapter of their career. And ultimately, at some point, they're going to get their last job, not their first job. And it's really that last job where they have the broadest aperture for impact. Maybe they're running a company or a head of a nonprofit organization, or they're an entrepreneur, and they are singularly responsible for X number of jobs, and the families that are supported by those jobs, and how communities can flourish as a result of strong families and strong jobs. The broader impact that our students can have as they ascend to their last job is pretty remarkable. And I love the fact that you're recognizing that, and you're not waiting or relying on serendipity deeper into their careers and lives. You're actually being proactive and making those investments today. Sure, they're getting their first job, but they're really set up to have the broadest impact possible. And from my perspective, that's going to make them stronger alumni. That's going to make them stronger brand ambassadors as we continue to make TCU one of the finest institutions in the country.
Absolutely, yeah. And definitely what you said, when I meet with prospective students and parents, a lot of times I'll ask the parents in the room to raise their hand if they're still doing the job that they were doing their first job out of college. And the last meeting I had with parents, I think I had my first hand raised. There was someone who was a dentist and who had kept doing that. But rarely does someone raise their hand because they've had multiple jobs. And we always have that conversation with parents and students that you're going to have those multiple jobs after graduation. And that's exactly what you said. That's what we're trying to do, is equip students with the skills that they can navigate that sort of uncertainty or change that's going to be inevitable, and help them progress in their careers, and help them know that they can not only get that first step after they leave and after they graduate from TCU, but they can progress to that next step as well. And they can be confident that they had the skills here and they learned those skills at TCU in the classroom, through their internships, through the work that they did, through involvement in campus organizations here, and their leadership opportunities that they had. They can take that and use that in their job to propel them to the next opportunity.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right, and maybe that's somewhat intuitive if like a student's graduating and they're going into like the tech sector, and technologies and tools change and they have to adjust. But I can tell you, even from my own personal experience, I've been in higher ed almost 20 years now, and sometimes higher ed gets a bad rap of the pace of change, or being glacial in sort of its decision making. But even over the last 2 decades of my career in higher ed, I've had 12 different jobs and have had to display that same, career agility and the courage to think differently, and to be comfortable with uncertainty, and in many ways reinvent myself and my ability to contribute and add value to the organization. So if that's my experience in higher ed, imagine what so many of our graduates are going to have to do if they go into the private sector or otherwise. So again, kudos to you for recognizing that and preparing them for that very clear reality. Now, one of the most impressive things is that, over the last few years, as TCU has embarked on a pathway of prudent growth, of growth with quality. We have, the strongest student body in the history of the institution. It's the largest student body in the history of the institution. And obviously, the Career Center has to keep up with that. Talk to us a little bit about how many students do you serve a year? How do you handle that scale? And how do you keep TCU and our culture and our commitment to being student-centric, really connected and operating at the individual student level?
Absolutely. And I'll I'll kind of use kind of what you said up there with the change in higher ed. And when I started my career also in career services, and when I asked people to think about career services 15 years ago, maybe even as little as 10 years ago, a lot of people think of it as career services as the place that students go when they're a senior. It's maybe in the building, in the basement, off on the far stretches of campus that you kind of go to at the end of your career path. But we've really changed and evolved a lot over the years in the field of career development. So really what we do here in terms of supporting students and making sure they have that high touch experience as well, we meet individually with students. We have embedded career consultants in each of our colleges so that they can meet directly with those students within their majors and give them specialized advice. So we know that, for example, a student in the College of Nursing might have different questions than a student in the College of Business, different than a college who is a fine arts major. So we have those people who are able to provide those individual support opportunities. We do about 3,000. Last year we did about 3,000 individual career advising coaching appointments with students, providing them that one-on-one high-touch experience, because we know that students here at TCU really, you can talk about career planning, students can go online, watch a YouTube video, but ultimately they need someone who they can share and really tell their personal story to, and know that that person on the other side is willing to support them. And I think that's really what we try to do here by having those individual coaching appointments. We also have over 100 employer visits on campus here as well, because we like to bring employers to campus so that students have that opportunity, so that there's no barrier for them meeting with those employers, meeting with those alumni who are in their career paths. And so they can get that advice from the people who are making the hiring decisions right here on campus, so that they can have easy access to a network of recruiters and employers right here available to them at TCU.
That's fabulous. I love that number of, over 100 employers are, actually investing their time and their talent to come to campus, right? Just to have the opportunity to hire Horned Frogs, which is just, remarkable. In so many marketplaces, the students have to go to the companies, but I think the nature and quality of the product and the talent and the capacity and capability of our students, whether it's for an internship or a full-time placement upon graduation, it really, in many ways, it feels like companies and other organizations are thirsting for the opportunity to hire a frog. How has that changed over time, and is that an accurate assessment?
Oh, 100%. And you mentioned technology earlier. Last year, we had over 95,000 jobs and internships posted to TCU through our online platforms. If you went back generally, I would say typically you would have just DFW employers who are recruiting here, but we have recruiters and employers from across the nation, across the globe, who are reaching out to us, who are sharing opportunities with TCU students and really trying to recruit TCU talent. So definitely that has evolved in terms of the awareness of the brand of TCU nationally and globally, and the awareness of employers that if they come to TCU to recruit, if they come to a career fair, if they come to an info session, they know that the students that they meet with will be well equipped for success, that they won't have to have as much training, and that they'll be ready to go. They'll have the internship experiences. They will be not only experienced in the classroom, but experienced outside the classroom as well. And I think that really speaks to our recruiters in this kind of competitive market where they're really trying to leverage where they can go to find the best talent. And that's really what we have to do here as well, is just continue to bring that talent to our employers and connect them to our students.
Yeah, well, the fact that, you have, over 3,000 individualized, work sessions with students across campus, it really puts us in a position, it sounds like, to get to know them and then to be in a better place to play that matchmaking role, so that we're not wasting students' time, we're not wasting employers' time, and everybody has a running start to making the match that could turn into a really productive employment situation. Okay, so you've got 3,000 different students you're working with every year, which is amazing. You've probably seen resumes of all shapes and sizes. What's like the craziest thing you've seen on a resume that you've kind of had to work through?
Yeah, I have seen a lot of resumes through the years, so lots. If I think about one of the most interesting ones, though, and in hindsight, it was probably appropriate. I worked with a student who had an internship at Nickelodeon. And I think he'd worked on like SpongeBob SquarePants or something on the show. But he had the experience, and then he had like 5 exclamation points after the experience because he was so excited about it. And I said, "That's great that you included that, but maybe take off some of the maybe take off the exclamation points." But again, I couldn't discredit him for being excited about the opportunity. But it was probably one of the most interesting ways of presenting their experience I'd seen.
Yeah, well, I mean, I kind of love it, right? And all day, every day, give me someone with that exuberance and that enthusiasm and that passion. And then if we need to modulate that a little bit to make it, sort of market appropriate, fine. That's a lot better sort of feedstock to work with than if someone, who doesn't have that fire in the belly and you're trying to motivate them to, really achieve beyond maybe what their existing capacity might be or what they think their existing capacity might be.
100%, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I love about TCU is that even since the beginning of the founding of the institution, when we made a very bold decision to teach in a co-ed environment, men and women, learning together, one of the very first universities west of the Mississippi to have the courage to do that, that we've maintained a commitment to being an institution of innovation. What does what do you think about TCU's culture and how it contributes to that, and what are the either the trends or the innovations that you're working on to continuously improve what we do in our career services area?
Sure, absolutely. So our professional organization, the National Association of Colleges and Employers, they survey each year employers to ask them what skills they're looking for from students from early talent. And always, at least 2 of the skills that always rise to the top are leadership and technology, the use of technology basically in the workplace. I think those 2 things lend themselves hand in hand to innovation. I think our commitment to that, to teamwork, to leadership, to innovation, to creativity, to making sure that our students have skills in a lot of our majors here across campus. There is an embedded internship or an embedded field experience that exposes students to different career paths and gets them out of the classroom and gets them actually applying what they're doing. And I think you have to do that to innovate and to think innovatively in terms of what you're going to do next. You have to kind of get outside and think about how you're going to apply what you're learning in the classroom to sort of that work experience. And that's something that I think lends itself here. You talked about earlier just the culture of TCU. I've worked other places, and I think I have colleagues who sometimes it's a matter of trying to market and promote your services and let faculty or let staff know about the Career Center. Hey, we've got a Career Center over here. Send your students in. At TCU, I've really never had that problem. And in some ways, it's, faculty are reaching out to us. Can you come in and do a class session? Can we get involved? We're hosting this career thing over here. Come over and let's see it. We're here in the studios right now, and there's an FTDM program. There's a career event and a poster right behind me. So I think our faculty are really, really committed to making sure our students get those experiences as well. And I think the culture of here really contributes to that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so proud of our faculty and our staff. And again, everybody's, invested in each other here, which is distinctive in our culture of connection. You mentioned technology and analytics and some of these things. We at TCU, even on this podcast, we're paying attention to viewership and numbers and sort of what the trends are, trying to walk the walk a little bit. One of the things that we've learned is that this podcast has been wildly popular with our alumni. Certainly great participation of people on campus and beyond, but really our alumni seem to be quite engaged with what's happening here at TCU. I would assume that as you apply that interest to career services, that there are ways for alumni to plug in. If that's true, how can our alumni, continue to invest in the future generations of frogs?
Absolutely. I think it goes 2 ways. One, it's supporting our students coming back, recruiting, hiring frogs. We always try to acknowledge our alumni who are recruiting at our events, at our career fairs, things like that, so that students know that when they're going up talking to a recruiter, they know that that person is a graduate of TCU and they know that they've invested time to come back and recruit current students. So we really appreciate that, and we appreciate that investment from our alumni to continue to recruit and continue to advocate for recruiting at TCU within their companies or organizations. Even if they're not on the recruiting team, communicating that message to the leadership in the company and the organization, letting them know, hey, are we recruiting at TCU? If not, what can I do? Can I go out to a visit? Can I go out to a career fair? That advocacy is really important. We also invest back into alumni here. We're relatively unique. There's not a lot of universities, especially of our size, who do this, but we provide alumni services as well. So those career consulting appointments, we provide that to alumni. So you could have graduated from TCU 5 years ago, 10 years ago. If you're looking at making a career change, you can come back and talk to us. You can use our services. You can make an appointment. You can use our technology platforms to access jobs, other opportunities that may enable you to change careers. We want to make sure that we're providing that support to alumni, not just when they're here at TCU, but after they leave campus as well.
Yeah, I think it's a remarkable model, and it's just so on brand, right? It's so on point with the overall return on investment in a TCU education. Certainly return on investment can be measured by did a student get a job upon graduation, and what are they earning, and that kind of thing. And obviously we do exceedingly well there, but we do think about an investment in a TCU education as not just being 4 years at the undergraduate level or a couple of years in a grad program or what have you. Quite literally, investing in a TCU education accrues a long tail of benefits for, not but in the next 40 or 50 years, at every chapter of your career and life. And I think that's a remarkable promise that we make to all members in our community.
Absolutely. I think that affinity to your alma mater, your affinity to TCU, that's something that's going to be with you for a lifetime throughout your career path, throughout all those changes, all those multiple jobs, career paths, career shifts that you have. The one constant is going to be that you're a TCU alum, and we hope that our alumni keep engaged, keep that relationship here with us, and help support the students who are following in their path, in their footsteps from TCU as well.
We talked a little bit about innovation. Obviously, this this podcast is called TCU Innovates, and when I think about innovation, it's how you earn the right to compete every day, and that's informed by what you've learned from the past, and how that evidence gives you the the wherewithal to start dreaming about the future and where we might go. And we're at just a beautiful moment in TCU's history. We just completed the celebration of our sesquicentennial, which was remarkable in its own right, but it really has been this catalyst to look ahead. And so one of the things I try to be really consistent with on this show is asking our guests about their dreams and their aspirations for the future. So maybe specifically as you think about the Career Center, what's next? What are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? What might we expect as we dream?
Sure. Well, we talked a little bit about data, continuing to be data informed with what we do. We're exploring some platforms to even get down a little bit deeper and dig a little bit more into the data that we have in terms of where our students go, where they work, what they do, and finding out not only where they land for their first job, but for that next job, and finding out how successful they are in that role. And are there things that we can do not only to have that information and have that data back to us, but also put that data to action and think about how we can prepare the next group of students to make sure that we're equipping them with either the same skills or learning from what we learn from the data that we use. I think in terms of innovation as well, we're really looking at expanding what we do with our employer networks. I talked about growing us nationally and globally, expanding what we do in terms of recruiting, in terms of getting students aware of all the different opportunities that are out there. We had an employer on campus yesterday, and he was talking about an info session that he did as a student, that he didn't go into that career at the beginning, but he had 2 careers between that. He went into consulting, then he went into law. But the one thing that stuck with him was that experience he had as an undergrad, that info session, and then he went back and had this much higher level government career and role that he learned about during his time as an undergrad. So exposing students to those opportunities and just creating that awareness, creating more awareness in terms of employers that are available so that their network is expanded. We have a lot of students who maybe they're a first generation student and they don't know what careers are available to them. So just making sure that all of our students have access to every possible outcome that they could possibly have in terms of career, and they're not limited by what their thinking may be in terms of what they could do after they graduate.
I love it. I love it. It's very good, great, specific, actionable advice for our students as they navigate their time here and then, and of course, beyond. Okay, so now I don't want to talk about the Career Center. I want to talk about Mike Caldwell. I want to talk about you as a Horned Frog. What, as you look ahead, what is your dream for TCU?
Oh, well, I'd have to relate it back to the Career Center a little bit, but, we talked about having those student advising appointments. Dream for careers at TCU would be every student at TCU had an embedded career experience in their curriculum every year. They had 4 years that we weren't that place that you come to as a first-year student and a senior or just that couple of times, but you had that embedded experience at TCU. And you had that experience where you had the opportunity to meet with employers and you weren't limited by access or anything of that nature, that you had unlimited availability of all the jobs that are available, all the internships that are available, and even additional coaching, even more support. That would be the dream for me in terms of what we could do for students.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if that was bound up in the promise, not only to the students and the families that support our students, but those employers, because that by the time they graduate, they've been battle tested. They've done something, sort of practical in their field of choice. They've had successes and they've learned from missteps, and they don't have to make those necessarily on the job, after graduation. In many ways, what your dream sounds like to me is, you're de-risking the hiring decision on an employer, and you're probably raising the level of affirmation from the student's perspective that, yes, this is exactly where I want to go, once my studies are completed.
Absolutely. That every student not only had their first job lined up, but they had multiple offers, they had multiple opportunities, and it's just, what we're doing is really helping them navigate that decision, helping them navigate, am I going to choose option A or option B, and weighing the pros and cons, and probably both of those are great opportunities, but just really getting students to the place where they have ownership of that, and sort of they are the person who is in control of their next step and their destiny and their career path.
Yeah, life is a lot better when you have choices. Right, and you can make informed decisions, and you're not relegated to one pathway. And quite literally here at TCU, I mean, I do think our students can have it all, as long as we connect with them, communicate with them, and show them the way, based upon our experience and the power of the Horned Frog Network. I will say it's important to reach as many students as we can. You're catching a ton of them, and I'm just so proud of the reach that we have. Students, again, back to data and analytics, we know you're listening. I really want to just encourage you to go visit the Career Center. You can even start online. It's easy to find, careers.tcu.edu. A really remarkable, easy user interface to get you going, because we do here at TCU, we want to understand where you are as a student. We want to know where your dreams lie, and then folks like Mike and others, myself, our great faculty, amazing support staff, we want to be on the critical path on that journey, and it sounds like we're doing a great job, fulfilling those dreams. TCU is a place where if you can dream it, you can do it. I've never seen that not be the case, and certainly we're doing that through our Career Center. So thanks again, Mike, for joining us. It's been a remarkable conversation. Thanks for all you do, and go Frogs.
Thank you. Go Frogs.
The TCU Innovates podcast is recorded at the KTCU studio in the Bob Schieffer College of Communications at Texas Christian University. Thank you to our student producer, George Kamar, and the entire KTCU team for supporting our show. Go Frogs!